Hello, my friends. Welcome. This is, yes, the Back to Me podcast. This week, I am talking with Caurel Richards, and we're talking about redefining your worthiness and how life can give us this impression and inner dialogue about who we are that isn't really real, and how much peace can come when you get to just be you. So have a listen. I would love to know what you think and how this has helped. And I hope you have an outstanding day. Take care. Hi, my friends. Welcome. This is the Back to Me podcast, and this is Heather, and I am super excited that you're here. You are going to hear some tips and some tricks and some ideas to help you live your happiest and healthiest self. I call it Back to Me because when you are taking care of yourself, back to me, then you can take better care of others, and we can all make the world a better place. This is Wellness Your Way, and I am super happy that you're here. Hello, my friend. Welcome to the Back to Me podcast. This is Heather, and it's another fabulous Friday edition with a fabulous human being where we get to learn some new things and find out some things and think, oh my gosh, I wish I had known that 20 years ago. But that's okay, because every day is a new day. So today we are talking with Caurel Richards, who is a trauma expert, and I'm going to have to ask you at some point, but your company is called In Divine Thyme.
Yes.
And welcome. I'm so happy you could come and join us.
Thank you. I'm always happy to be a part of any speaking engagement of some sort. So whatever wisdom I have to share today, I'm ready to share it.
Awesome. So the first thing that I'm always super curious about is what drew you into becoming a trauma expert? And what does that mean for you?
Very good question. And I'm going to go with what is coming to me right now. And the first answer that came to me was my own trauma. I recognized that relationships were hard for me, like really, really hard. And I had to figure out, because I'm this kind of person where I want to figure out why something is hard for me, because in my head, I want life to be easy.
Right.
So there's something causing resistance. I got to figure out why it's causing resistance. And that drew me to looking within, because looking outside was no longer working anymore, because I knew didn't have control over what others were doing, saying. So I was like, okay, I'm the common denominator in this situation. There has to be something going on with me. And for a very long time, it was, okay, well, no, it's everybody else. And when it got to the point where it's like, okay, maybe it's you, Caurel, I buckled down. And of course, it was a hard process, because in my mind, I was great. I was able to handle everything. So what was really going on? And in asking myself that question, I got the answer. Not the answer that I wanted, but essentially it was just saying, you're broken. And who wants to hear that?
Nobody wants to hear that. So
Right.
was it all relationships, or was it romantic relationships, or
In hindsight, I'll say it's all relationships, but in the moment, I didn't recognize that. I didn't really have meaningful relationships. You have this tendency to have people around you, and you're like, oh, I have friends. I have people that know me, that understand me. That wasn't necessarily true, because I didn't understand myself. So who were they understanding? So when I recognized that relationships would just fall away, like you just don't know what happened for you not to even be able to have conversations with this person anymore, that had me question, hey, what's really going on? Am I really showing up as my authentic self, or am I just showing up as a version that everyone seems to like to be entertained by, because I'm an entertainer?
right.
And I didn't want to just only be the entertainer. I wanted people to see me and understand me. And the only way they would be able to do that is if I actually showed up. So I had to give myself permission to show up.
And it becomes tiring. It becomes really tiring if you're constantly trying to be who you think you're supposed to be,
Yes.
right? And it does take some time for you to go, to recognize, like, good for you that you decided, just figured out, like, there's something not working. Because a lot of people spend their whole lives like, no, it's all them. It's all them. I could name a handful of those for you right now. No,
Yes,
it's not me, it's them.
that's true. That is very true. But I mean, does the world prepare you to do introspection? No. They prepare you to, one, be codependent on everybody else. So there's no question about, oh, I wonder if things are going straight with me. If I'm doing the things that I love. We were taught to do what pleases everybody else. And if you weren't taught that, chances are you were the rebellious type and we're like, hey, I don't want to listen to you, so I'm just going to listen to myself. So none of the extremes are the greatest.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find the middle ground here.
I think my mother would tell you I was the I'm not doing that extreme.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was the cutest little kid, really, um, in my own mind. So I thought was reading your bio. Holy moly, you studied with Marisa Peers,
Yeah.
and that's super. Like, it's exciting for me, and for people who don't know who she is, maybe you can even tell us about what that program was, because what? I get really excited when I learn something new.
So Marisa Peer is a world-renowned psychologist, therapist. Most importantly, she taught us what she now deems as rapid transformational therapy. And I happen to be a rapid transformational therapy practitioner. And what that is really is where it's a combination of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, NLP, hypnotherapy, and traditional talk therapy, psychotherapy. So I believe that each in itself has a way of creating impact, of providing transformation. All of them combined, though, powerful,
Right.
powerful. So it was an amazing journey for me to go through that program, because one, it forces you essentially to look from the inside out, check yourself to see, hey, what's really going on with me. So I went through a couple of sessions myself. So in learning, you learn with your own experiences and you're able to learn with other people's experiences, and it's a beautiful thing. You don't
That's such a strong
recognize
combination of things to
things.
use.
Yes, it is. It is. And you don't recognize how a small event, as a child, you're not really coming with the right interpretation because you don't really have the full story, and you're walking around with these outdated beliefs, of you not being enough, or you not necessarily being good. You're a bad person because the way you interpreted one scene, right? I think people have this predisposition of trauma. That trauma is, you go into war, you going through a natural disaster. It can be like those small traumatic events that really take a toll on you. And I'm bringing awareness to that.
Yeah, and sometimes, because I think last week's we talked a different kind of trauma. We were talking about intergenerational trauma, and it was that conversation. She said, my childhood was great. My parents were great. Everything was fine. But this was the lesson that I took from my mother, which didn't serve me. I was like, yeah, trauma doesn't have to be something huge. And maybe we need to come up with a new word for it.
Maybe.
It's like, uh, I'm telling myself the wrong story. That's too long.
I get where you're going this, because you know what it is? It alters how you perceive life, because you all know that our perception really is what dictates our reality. And with trauma, what that does, there's a break in perception. There is okay, if I see someone walking on the street, they don't say anything to me. Your automatic thought is, hey, something's wrong with me, is why they don't talk to me. I mean, you're a complete stranger. First of all, they
Right?
don't have to talk to you. But when your automatic response is something is wrong with me because someone doesn't talk to you, then there are questions to be asked. And the question is, what happened to you for you to think that someone walking by you means that there's something wrong with you?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I can remember I just had a flash. I walked by this person one day and I looked at them, and I think I thought I was smiling at them and being friendly, and they thought that I was judging them. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
I kind of went, what? But, and I still walk around going, but wait, so
Yeah.
people's internal process, people's internal interpretation, you never know what it's going to be or where it came from, right? It was so
Yeah.
strange. And I have to ask you, in Divine Time, you said there was a story. How did you come up with the name for your company?
Oh, wow. Outside of the fact that everything for me always comes in divine time. Like if there's something that I'm working towards, it never not comes to me in the right time. Even today, I was so worried about getting here on time. And I realized that the reason that I was being so delayed was because there was someone that I needed to see. They didn't see me, but I remember actually helping him because it was a really cold winter. And I remember him saying that he wasn't feeling well and I had to call the ambulance on him. So, mind you, I haven't seen him since. And in running late with you, I spotted him just now. And I look at life that way. Everything happens the way that it needs to happen in divine time. You're never too late. You're never, in essence, you never get somewhere too early. You get there on time in divine time.
You are exactly where you need to be at
Yes.
all times,
Yeah.
whether you believe it or not. I've run webinars where there was 2 people there. I said, "Well, these are the people who are supposed to be here.
Yes.
Nobody else was supposed to be here today." Then,
Yes.
you run webinars with 20 people. These are the people who are supposed to be here today.
Exactly.
Why is it spelled with as time like a spice?
Well, I'm a little spicy.
You're a lot spicy. Come on.
Spicy. But I really, at the time, was really caught up with the idea of cooking. And I'm like, time, I could put a spin on that word. And here it came. Me, my spicy self, wanting to switch things up. There it is.
I like it. I like it. That's a good story. And so when so do you work online as well? Are you like all over the place, kind of
Yeah,
like everybody
yeah.
these days?
It makes
Uh,
sense. It
It
makes
totally
sense.
makes sense. I mean, I have clients from Australia to Pakistan. I mean, it's
Yeah,
like everywhere, right? So yeah, and it's so interesting that so much can be done online that we used to think couldn't be. I've
thank you
even
for
gone
knowing
through
it.
hypnotherapy sessions online with a friend of mine who's a hypnotherapist.
Yeah.
It's like, they still work.
Yeah.
Everything
But
is still,
everything is up here.
yeah.
Right? So
We
you
could go
don't come
quantum as well
anywhere.
and say we're all connected no matter how far apart we are, right? Let's go quantum.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
so you also, so you work with groups as well, right?
I haven't ventured into groups yet. In fact, that's not true. 2
That's
weeks
not
ago, I
true.
did a group session. So I can safely check that one off my list.
So is your relation, is the healing circle not group?
No, so of
Oh,
course,
tell me
I
what
know
that
you're
is.
different. So the relationship within Healing Circle that I've launched or will be launching in April really gives me
No,
the
it's already
chance.
launched. This is September.
Oh, right. You're right. So yes, it launches and the essence behind it really is for you to have a better relationship within yourself, because I think
Oh,
that dictates the type of relationship that you will have with anyone, anything. So when I say it's a group, the thing is you're talking to different versions of yourself. So that's what makes it a healing circle. Everything comes full circle for you. So for those who think, oh, I'm going to be sitting with other people, no, it's all about you. It's just you talking to those different versions of yourself to release those outdated beliefs that are keeping you stuck.
and I guess it uses all of the rapid
Yes.
transformation tools, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I can remember doing that, like, the inner child stuff, the sitting, having conversations with different versions. Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
Yeah,
It's People might think it's crazy, but I'm going to tell you straight up, it works.
it does.
It's when you're doing it, you might feel this is ridiculous, but no, it works.
It
It
does.
works. And what kind of people do you find usually are gravitate to you,
Women
to the
that
work?
you know what, I have 3 different clients that I've deemed as my perfect customer. You have the who I would call the boundaryless warrior. So the boundaryless warrior is that woman that she's there for everybody else. She doesn't know how to say no. She's burnt out, she's overwhelmed, but she keeps going and her body's shutting her down, but she's not listening.
I call those overwhelmed overachievers.
And I have an overachiever too. The overachiever is actually the unfulfilled overachiever. So
Oh,
they're doing all of this. Their personal relationships are just breaking down. They don't have time for their kids. They're doing all of this work and they just don't feel like they're enough at the end of the day because they keep going on that hamster wheel of getting more accomplishments, getting more certification, but it's just never enough.
right.
And then lastly, the name that I came up for the third customer would be, and I'm coming with it, it's the doubtful protector. So the
Wow.
doubtful protector is that young woman that is in a full-time job that isn't really serving her. She has this beautiful passion for doing other things, but she doesn't trust herself to be able to survive, to thrive with that gift or that passion that she has. So she's drowning in that job and at the same time not being able to trust herself to lean into her passion.
It's kind of like, your light is being uh suppressed. Like it's almost like, you have that all three of them have some kind of light of energy and excitement of
Yeah.
things that they want to do, but they keep kind of pushing it down. Like I'm trying to picture how that would happen
Yeah.
because I picture it as this beautiful little flame,
Yeah.
but they keep turning it down and ignoring it, and it's kind of a bummer.
It is.
Which you don't feel. I mean, when I talk that because when I talk to people, I talk to them about 6 areas of wellness, and that would be, I would put that under, like, the engagement. It's like, this is your intersection with the world and what makes you feel excited and to be here and do whatever you're supposed to do while you're here, however you view that
Yeah.
phrase.
Exactly.
And if you're not doing it, you're just gonna feel unhappy all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not trying to make Pleasantville because that's not real either, right? There's ups, there's downs, there's all arounds, but we keep on that path, the one that goes all over the place,
And that's
right?
what life is filled with, you know. It's never a straight line. So anyone that tells you that life is a straight line, they're not being honest because it's about those bumps sometimes, you know. You get off that beating path because there's something that you need to take from it. There's something that you need to learn. There's something that needs to shake you up a little bit so you are prepared for the next part.
Right. Yeah. Everything. I was listening to Abraham Hicks the other day, and they call it contrast. It's
Um,
like contrast helps you learn your lesson. And contrast, I think, is just a nice way of something that bugs you is different from what you want. So that's the contrast.
yeah.
Helps you see what you do want.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's not necessarily about the thing that is happening or the event. It's more so how you respond to it.
Right.
Yeah.
So when they're working in that, are they working one on one with you in the healing circle?
Yes, they are.
Ah.
Yeah. So I'm just
And
really a safe space, a cocoon, right? Because this isn't easy work. We don't look within for a lot of things. So for me to now say, hey, look at that 2-year-old version of you, look at that 16-year-old version of you, you know it's you, and you're like, what I teach is compassion,
hmm,
you know, and I think that's the hardest thing for a lot of us is we have this tendency to show a lot of compassion to others when we do, that is, but then when it's necessary for us, it's, hey, that was stupid, you're so unworthy, oh, you're so ugly, you're so all these things. And I'm like, why would you speak to yourself? Would you speak to your child that way? Would you speak to your godson, your goddaughter? You probably wouldn't. So why do you think that we should talk to ourselves that way?
and I think some people don't uh, recognize when they're speaking to themselves.
Yeah.
You know, the dialogue has been going on so long. I live across the road from a dog park. It's
Yeah.
like the people who own dogs who don't hear their dog barking and barking and barking anymore. So you don't hear
Yeah.
your voice telling you these things
Yeah.
unless you stop and like actually listen to it.
Yeah.
And I guess that's that first step is like awareness is always the first step, right? So, oh my
Always.
gosh, I do talk to myself like that, or I did hear myself say that. And then not giving yourself a hard time about that.
We're doing the best that we can. Right? So we really do need compassion. And because we don't know what that feels like, for me to come in and be like, hey, you know, when you call yourself stupid, you're listening. You know, it's not everybody else. It's really you that's listening to that. Because I don't believe that you're stupid, but there's so much weight, so much power in you saying it to you that you are actually listening. And when you realize that you don't step into your power, you don't step into action as it relates to something that needs your intellect, it's because you've been telling yourself that you're not good enough, you're not smart enough. So it's not that you don't want to, it's just that you don't have the encouragement within you. So even if I'm to come and tell you, you're probably going to listen for a moment, but it's never going to actually be sustainable, because then you're always going to be looking to someone else to be telling you these things.
Right. Yeah. If it's always coming from the outside. I know I coach coaches, and one of the biggest things is the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And I can be sitting with a client in a meeting, and the wall behind them is full of their accomplishments, but they still don't feel like they're enough. I was like, and I can tell you as much as I want, but it's you gotta embrace it and take it on.
Yeah, absolutely. There's this sense of calm, there's a sense of peace that happens after doing the work and you've started to speak to yourself less critically. There's a sense of peace that you walk around with, and I'm getting chills right now because I can attest to that. When internally you know that you're okay, that you are enough, when you know that, hey, when I show up, that's all I need to do is just show up to be me. There's a sense of stillness that is, I'm out of words. Like, I'll get emotional, I suppose, if I go any further. But
Well,
it's
but
just
it's true
so
because suddenly you
peaceful.
get to be your own self,
Yeah.
and you can stop trying to figure out what everybody wants and jumping from one personality to another personality to another
Yeah.
personality to what does that person want? Oh my God, I
Yeah.
can't let these two people meet because I'm two different people.
Exactly. That is so true. That is
Right.
so true. You know,
I
the one
can't let
thing
my work
somebody
friends meet
said
my
to
real
me,
friends. Oh my God.
someone said to me the other day, they said, the person that you show up as online, when I meet you, when I see you at events, it's the same person. I'm like, because it's easy. Because I've accepted that person. So if someone hasn't accepted a part of me, that's not necessarily about me, right? So I don't take it on, because you have to understand that people are coming from their own perception of life. So if it doesn't resonate, then you don't have to take it on.
Yeah. Your job isn't to try and be fit everybody else's definition of what you should be, right?
No.
And that's hard sometimes.
Yeah.
But you can it's easier. It is way easier to live that way, right? It's such an easier life. And you made me remember. So I was talking to a woman in South Africa. I was on the, what does she call it? Mindset Alchemy podcast.
Okay.
Yes, she's very interesting. And she gave me an acronym for fear: feel it, experience it, allow it, release it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I like that. I'm gonna use that because I mean, it is an instinctual thing. Fear comes because it's trying to protect us.
Absolutely.
And but then you have that moment afterwards where you can go, well, okay, hold on. Right? Hold on 1 second. Let's just see what's really going on here.
Yeah.
Is man-eating tiger coming? No.
And that's the thing, you know. I even had a conversation with my friend this morning. I said, I'm so proud of myself because I was really good at talking myself out of doing things. I would have the best excuses to be like, hey, this is the reason that you shouldn't do this because, oh, the universe is telling you not to do it this way. And I would be so convincing. And I told her, what I do differently now is that I check to see if it's rooted in fear. And if it is rooted in fear, I just go through the entire thought process. It's like, okay, well, if you do this, then this is going to happen, then this is going to happen. And then I said, well, you didn't die.
Yeah.
I guess you could just do it.
I guess. Right. That's what I had a podcast a long time ago with one of my coaches, and we were talking about being visible.
Yeah.
And how scary that is. And it was, well, just try it, because you're going to realize you didn't die. Then you can keep going.
Yeah.
And yes, there's things in life that are scary that you shouldn't do because you might die. But there's a lot of stuff that people avoid doing that you're not going to die.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you have that fear that you're going to be judged. People are going to make fun of you. You're going to mess up. You're not going to be perfect, but you're not going to die.
You're not going to die. And actually what happens afterwards is so powerful because you're like, I didn't die. And I actually kind of liked it.
Exactly. And the more you do it, it becomes just normal behavior. It's so, entrenched in who you are that fear just almost doesn't even speak to you anymore. You're like, we used to have a relationship. I'm over it. Bye.
We broke up.
Yeah.
We broke up.
Yeah.
And you have a podcast too.
I do.
So exciting.
Yes, it's called Redefine Your Worthiness. Practically what we're talking about today.
What we're talking about.
Yeah, it's having real raw conversations, right? Where maybe you are imprinted on with another belief, and it's talking through those things and actually showing your scars, because it gives others permission to be like, oh, so I'm not the only one. I'm not alone in this. And it's allowing yourself to have your own way of expressing yourself. It's about, in essence, self-acceptance. If I had to give it one word, it's self-acceptance, because you have a very unique blueprint here on this earth, and that's what we want to see. Right. Not what you were told, but who you actually are when you came here.
Yeah, it's I have this is what happens to me. Many ideas crowd into my head all at the same time. So I'm remembering a cartoon where everybody changed so that they all looked the same and they all sounded the same. And suddenly life was boring because everybody was exactly the same.
Oh, so boring.
So boring. And there's a movie called, I think it's called Terre Noire. And it's about the wines from France and how the wine is distinctive because of the soil that it grows in. And that you could say this for people. You're distinct because of where you're growing and where you were planted and how you were cared for. Yeah. And you're an expression of that. And you'll turn into a fabulous wine. Yeah. But there's a tendency in today's wine market to blend so that all the wine tastes the same. Yeah. And there's a gentleman this wine expert who the wine people phone up all the time. And he's always yelling, micro-oxygenate, which I guess it means add bubbles to the wine so it ferments faster or something. Okay. But it was so strange because everything has become quite the same because this particular wine expert everybody loves, they're trying to please him. Exactly. And he has a certain taste. Now, for your non-wine drinkers, maybe you don't care, but it's interesting that it's like you can reflect that onto humans trying to all please.
There you go.
Whomever. Like, think about the poor people. Like, I feel bad for influencers because they're trying so hard to please millions of people,
and they won't ever be able to.
They'll never be able to. And just imagine how exhausting that is.
It's almost like, their life will never be theirs.
Yeah. And unless they can become okay with the fact that if they were themselves, like if they could be themselves, it wouldn't be as exhausting, right? If they could just be themselves and accept that maybe they'd lose a couple million people.
Yeah. That's the tough part for a lot of them. I've always said in my mind that if you're being influenced, you can't be an influencer.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Because essentially what you're doing is just perpetuating a cycle. And I know that people are trying to escape from their real life. So when they see someone that has everything, well put together, it's perfect, and they want to attain that life. Sure, it's possible in your head, but the perfect life that you're looking for, you already have. You just don't value it. You don't find worth in that.
Yeah.
And that's the part that I struggle with, because what you are, who you show up as, is so much better than this cookie cutter version that we're being taught that it's perfection.
And I read this in a book recently, and I wish I could remember which book it was in, but the line was, are you comparing, or maybe it was a coach? I can't remember where it came from. Are you comparing your inside to other people's outside? So you can look at all of these people who look like they completely have it together, but they don't. They don't have it together any more than anybody else does.
Yeah.
And so what you're seeing is curated.
Yes.
I mean, all of social media is pretty much curated. Even the people who go on and say, this is the real me with no makeup, it's still curated.
There's an intention behind it, right?
Right? It's still curated. And I see
Oh,
young
man.
girls walking around saying, oh, I have to have, this bag and this pair of sweatpants and this, and I have to have my hair cut like this. And
Yeah.
I think, oh my gosh, just go and be who you want to be. Who cares about all that stuff?
Yeah, when you don't have much value internally, you're going to look to the exterior. So I actually have so much compassion for them, because this world can be really brutal for
Very
us.
brutal. Let's talk
So,
high school. I'm still
yeah.
traumatized.
Yeah, it can be really brutal. And I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just saying I understand, right?
Yeah.
That's the one thing I always want to do, is to, one, be real in this world that we do live in, and I do my best to exist in. It's hard. It really is hard. We are communal individuals. So it's almost like when you step away and you want to be different, it's, oh, you're about to die. You're going to die. And that's just how it was, in hunter-gatherer time. If you were isolated, the chances of you dying were pretty high.
We're going to kick you off the island.
Yeah, you don't want to be that person that is isolated from everybody else, because your mind, your very primitive mind, thinks you're going to die. So you're just going to want to, fit in.
Yeah.
But fitting in over time kills you.
Kills your spark. Yeah. And even if, so there's another side to that. It's like, if you do get kicked off that island, maybe you're supposed to be on another one.
Oh, yeah.
Because there are people who are going to get you.
Exactly.
And there's people who are going to think that this is the person who speaks what I speak and understands me and gets me. So part of the journey is figuring out, where are the people who are on the same vibe, right?
There's no way to find out if you're not being true to yourself, right?
Yeah.
There's no way. If they don't know that that's something that you're interested in, if you've never spoken on it, then chances are they won't know. And then if the other person isn't showing up, you won't know. So I believe wholeheartedly, that's why I have this drive within me to just show up as me. Yeah, I could be a little bit quirky sometimes. Yeah, I could be a little weird, but I love my weirdness.
That's all you need.
Yeah, it's a conversation starter at times.
Right? I tell jokes when I teach yoga. How many yoga teachers tell jokes? Like, come on.
Hey, there you go. There you go.
They're all so serious.
Who else calls a healing circle for one person a healing circle?
Right? It's a bring all your personalities with you.
Yeah, exactly. I never looked at it that way.
Yeah. Why not? Bring the whole gang in.
Yeah.
Bring the whole gang in. Let's have a conversation. When you're doing your podcast, are you talking to people?
Yeah.
About, so you're bringing on people who volunteer to bare their souls.
Yeah, that's how I started. And then eventually I connected with a young lady here locally, and I moved from, because by the time you're watching this, I would have been in person. So this space that you're seeing would have been where I normally would do my podcast, but I now am going to an actual location, and we're having those real raw conversation. And I feel like that engagement that we have with each other in person just lights up the room, and we're able to have certain conversations. And on top of that, it's a little longer, which I'm a talker, so 30 minutes was just not enough. So
I know. It's like when I first started the podcast, they were an hour,
yeah.
sometimes longer. And then I just said, well, let's see what happens if we fit ourselves in to people's commute time. Although that said, I listen to podcasts that are 2 hours long.
Me too. Too.
And my friends, if you always look for the short ones, let me tell you, just dive into a long one, because if you're on the treadmill, it'll be gone in no time.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
You're so connected to the conversation. If you're not connected, that's fine. Because I've been in a few where I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to be skipping to see when they get to the juicy parts. But for the most part, those long podcasts have been amazing for me.
Yeah. There's little tidbits all along, right?
Yeah.
It's like sometimes I wish I had a pen and paper. So people can sign up for your Circle of One healing circle any old time, right?
Yes, they can. And I'm welcoming them. As long as you want to be able to quiet the chaos from within, I'm here to support you through that. And I know it's a very vulnerable time for you, especially if it's not something that you're necessarily familiar with or even aware of. But what you have is a safe space where that vulnerability is met with kindness, compassion, and warmth. So if you're ready, because I only work with people who want to be worked with.
Right. Yeah. Not everybody's going to be
really
ready.
That dedication and commitment. So
yeah,
I'm here.
That's so amazing. Thank you. Before you go, I have one more question.
Ooh.
Do you have final words of wisdom?
When you said it, just be yourself. Someone is waiting for you to just be you. You are the key to someone else's map. They just want to see you, and it wakes them up. So you're robbing not just them, you're robbing yourself of having the life that you've always dreamt of. It no longer just has to be a dream. It can actually be reality. It's just, you have to be a little bit more accepting of who you are and understanding of who you are. And once you have that understanding, this great big power comes with that. And they've always said, with great power comes great responsibility. So if you're ready for that responsibility, I'm your girl.
Ooh, those are good words. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us.
Yeah.
And talking about, you're all valuable. Like, everybody's valuable, my friends. Even if you don't feel like it, you are 100% valuable. You are. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Heather.
Have an outstanding day.
Yes.
My friends in podcast land, go on. If you're ready, go and join all your personalities together and get in a circle and have a big group hug.
Yeah.
And
you will literally be hugging yourself. I'll just do that.
And I'm going to go check out your podcast. So everybody else should go check out your podcast, Redefining Your Worthiness. I'll make sure I put a link to it in the show notes.
Yes.
The links are in the show notes to get into the circle and the whole shooting match, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. My friends in podcast land, if you know someone else who think you could use this podcast, it is them. Send it over to them.
Yeah.
Take care. See you again.
All right. Take care.
Hi, my friend. Thanks so much for listening to this entire podcast. If you found it useful and you're like me and you like helping others, please feel free to share this. Just give it a like, give it a comment. If you found something useful in it, there's a chance that someone else will find something useful as well. Also, if you have any questions at all, I can absolutely help, and I would love to help. You can email me at heather@prosperityflowcoaching.com. If you want more of this awesome content, you can follow me on Instagram, Heather Stewart Coaching. You can follow me on Facebook, Prosperity Flow Coaching. And I have a personal request. I want to help as many people as I can with these podcasts. And if you could give me a review, hopefully a good one, if you could share, if you could send this out into the world, I would truly appreciate it. I hope you have an amazing day, and I hope that you find your way to wellness by getting back to me. Take care, my friend.